Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. I am Kim McLaughlin, your host, and I am a licensed psychotherapist. I am a coach. I am a speaker and best-selling author, and I help people when they're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, and it shows up in overeating. Today, our the full topic is embracing body acceptance, a path to peaceful eating and self-love. But really, when we break it down, we're going to talk about how to move out of judging our bodies, because when we overeat, there tends to be this corresponding feeling of judging our body, or this, I need to judge my body. I don't like how my body is, and feeling overwhelmed by these really societal expectations about what you're supposed to look like. And this happens a lot for women. And I really recognize that this is happening more for men too, that there is this body judgment, and it shows up a lot in all kinds of places. It's something that, when we talk about body judgment, let's first talk about what it is. And it's really this learned behavior that comes from societal norms and standards about beauty and perfection. And we get bombarded from a very young age with messages about what our bodies are supposed to look like. And this really leads us to having this internalized idea about what we expect and what others expect our body should look like. And it shows up. I was talking to my Emotional Eating Solutions coaching group last month about body judgment. And I was talking about how it shows up in my Yahoo feed every day about what's the latest diet. Right now we have the shots and there's pills and there is all the things you're supposed to do because you're supposed to have a small body size, a very small body size. And we are bombarded with what way we're supposed to diet and what way we're supposed to release weight because we should hate our body for whatever way it looks. And I promise you, I have people that are of varying sizes, and the body judgment doesn't correspond with body size. It doesn't correspond with body size. It's just women, people in general, just have this judgment about their body. And it really comes from these internalized standards. And what I find interesting about these internalized standards is that they really are at the whim of whatever's popular. There were times in our history where being very thin was popular, having that kind of straight body size. There were times of being very curvy was popular. There was times where being heavier was popular. There was times where having larger breasts, a larger booty was very popular. Or you're supposed to be really tall, or you want to be short, or you want to have dark skin or light skin. It's really ebbs and flows with the changing of the decades about what is popular. And so we all try and fit in that box rather than, this is my body size. This is just how it is. I'm good with it. And I think we have to acknowledge that this idea of body judgment, how we judge our bodies, is really taking a toll on all of us. It's taking a big toll. It shows up in mental health, right? In terms of anxiety, depression, having mental health, eating disorders. It shows up in all of those areas because we hate our bodies and think we need to be different. It also shows up in, once again, in physically in your body in terms of yo-yo dieting, where you're dieting and you lose weight and then you increase weight when you're off the diet, then you lose weight when you're on the diet, and then you increase the weight when you're off the diet. So that dieting really has an effect. It's like chicken or the eggs. Did body judgment come first and then dieting, or did dieting come first and then body judgment? I see it really as circular, and they really interact with each other. We also find that body judgment really affects our self-esteem. Really, that idea of feeling bad about yourself and feeling upset and not liking yourself. I have people 100% of people that I work with will tell me that they hate themselves. They hate their bodies. They hate how they look. This is body judgment to an extreme. And also, body judgment takes a toll on just your overall well-being, how you interact in life, how you interact with other people, and how you literally and figuratively come to the table. It really does take us down. And it's not helpful, you guys. Body judgment is not helpful. Whatever it is you think your body is supposed to look like, I promise you, body judgment will never get you there. It will never get you feeling at peace or calm about your life, peace or calm about your body, peace or calm about food. It never does that. So, what we need to do, I think one of the major things we need to do is start by changing your mindset about your body. And part of that is really acknowledging and challenging those societal standards about what beauty is supposed to be like. Beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and questioning whether your body size is beautiful really doesn't honor who you are. And you've heard me say this before. Who you are is not your body size. The size of your body is not who you are as a person. They're different. I have people that I work with in my coaching practice, also in my psychotherapy practice, who talk about how they've released the weight and they still don't like themselves. Releasing weight does not mean you're going to like who you are. It just means you might have a smaller body until you go off the diet, and then you might gain the weight back, and then you don't like yourself for that. So just really challenging that societal expectation about what we're supposed to look like is based on the beauty industry, the weight loss industry that tells us how we're supposed to be. We've had other podcasts on body image and on really the devastating effects of the beauty and weight loss industry. And so I'll link some of those podcasts in the show notes for you to listen more about that. The other thing that changing your mindset about your body is starting to practice self-compassion and starting to have that idea of, how am I going to have compassion with myself? How am I going to love myself no matter what? And self-compassion for all the things we have to go through, all the things that kind of make it hard to live these days, and to really challenge that and to internalize self-compassion. Also, another thing I was thinking about how to challenge the mindset on body judgment is to really focus on being grateful what your body can do. And I acknowledge that this is not, I'm not trying to make an ableist statement that only if you have certain abilities can you have let go of that judgment about your body, but focusing on what your body can do, even if it's not everything you'd like it to do. What can it do? My body allows me right now to sit here and talk to you. It allows me to sit in my chair. Afterwards, earlier today, my body allowed me to do yoga, which I love to do. And I promise you, yoga can be done with any kind of ability or size. It's not just for anybody that's fit. It's really anybody. So really acknowledging your body for what it can do. And really, I challenge you to see and honor what your body can do. Another thing that comes into play is moving beyond that mindset is really having this idea of a positive body image. And one of the ways to do that, what I was thinking of, is surround yourself with positive influences, positive people, people who promote body positivity, who promote diversity, who promote living our best lives with whatever our body is. You can follow me on, I'm on Instagram at Feed Your Soul Unlimited. And we talk about this. We talk about how to really engage in feeling good about ourselves and focusing on uplifting messages. Another thing we can do for more of a body positive image is to Engage in more self-care activities, making sure that your body feels good, that you're doing the things that lead your body to feel good. I'm not talking about dieting. I'm talking about having movement that feels good for you, getting enough sleep, drinking more water, nutritious foods that nourish you, mind, body, spirit, and having those things that help with your self-care can boost your mood, boost how you feel about yourself. And so we're moving out of that negativity and that judgment. The other thing I think that can help us create more of a positive body image, positive attitude about ourselves is having gratitude. Having gratitude for what works in your body, what's working in your life, really focusing on the positive. I was just talking with a client earlier today about they weren't feeling good about what they can do. And I just said, well, tell me what you do. And I started writing down. I wrote down everything they told me that they can do. And I was shocked because this is somebody who kept saying how they couldn't do this, they can't do that. It's like I had a whole list of things that they told me they can do. I was really astounded by the amount of things. And I think that if you challenge yourself every day, write down things you're grateful for. What's going well? What do you do well? Focus on that attitude of gratitude really does lift our mood, lift our spirit, and begins to see our body and ourselves in a whole different way. Another thing I think about in terms of body, moving out of body judgment and into more body positivity is really embracing intuitive eating. We talk about that all the time on this podcast. I talk about it in Emotional Eating Solutions, my group coaching program that you could join. We have a link in the show notes. If you're interested, we talk about how to move into intuitive eating. Go back and listen to some of the other previous podcasts which talk more intensely about intuitive eating. But let me give you some ideas about what are some basics of intuitive eating that you could start doing right now. One of the basics, the starting point that we find with intuitive eating is to really reject that diet culture, reject that idea of dieting, of restricting. We know from research that long-term diets don't work. And what does that mean? Is that we engage in, if you look at it as a circle, at the top of the circle is diet and restrict. And what happens is in some amount of time, weeks, months, years, that you move into binging. And then what happens after we binge, we move around the circle up to feeling shame about ourselves and feeling bad. And then the only way we can feel or think we can move out of that is to move back up to restricting. And I promise you that happens even when people have any kind of weight loss drugs or any kind of weight loss surgery, any kind of dieting that shows up at some point in time. It happens every time. So really rejecting that idea of restriction. And we talk about that a lot. I talk about that a lot with my clients is how to move out of that restriction, because it doesn't mean that you have a free for all with food, but it means that we put food in its proper place as nourishment, eat foods that feel good for us, and it means we can have foods that are celebratory, but it's in proper balance with all the other foods that we eat. Another thing that we can do if we want to talk about some basics in terms of intuitive eating is to tune into your hunger and fullness cues. Pay attention, start noticing, when am I hungry? When am I full? At what point in hunger should I be eating? Because there's a point where we get too overly hungry and then we binge because it's like restricting that. When we restrict too much, when we don't eat when we're hungry, we then overeat and binge. So allowing yourself to enjoy a variety of foods without shame or guilt as you focus in on hunger and fullness. Another thing that I think is important about intuitive eating that I have been focusing on more is how to find joy in movement. I always had movement or exercise connected to weight loss. I have to exercise for a certain amount of time to decrease the calories so that I could eat, so that I would lose weight. Always on a diet. Exercise was connected to food. And every time I talk to somebody who is looking at food in a different way and really rejecting that diet mentality, they they really shun the idea of exercise because it's so connected to exercise is connected to something that's hard, something that's difficult, something I don't like. And it's when I am restricting my eating. So we're actually exercising while we have less food in our bodies, less energy, and it's really hard. I have tons of stories of exercising and almost passing out because I didn't have enough food in my body, because I didn't eat enough because I was on a diet. What I like to change that into is joyful movement. Movement to me is, how do I move my body in a way that brings me joy, that makes me feel good about myself, that makes me feel good about my body, and feels, for me, it's about feeling stronger and more active. And I enjoy that. So moving into joyful movement that's fun. And I've had experiences where at certain points in my life, I'll do a certain kind of movement that's fun. And then there's a certain point where it's not fun anymore. And I move on to something else. So it's always what is fun for me, what is joyful for me. I'm not talking hard or difficult or painful. I'm talking joyful. So those are some things if you want to move more into intuitive eating, rejecting diet culture, tuning into your hunger and fullness cues, and finding joy in movement. Those are really important things that will help you move out of that body judgment and into loving yourself in a different way. I think the other thing to do is, when we talk about body judgment, there's a point where you need extra help to help you move through it, to move out of hating your body and hating yourself and moving into something that's more loving and sustainable. So seek out therapy, professionals that know what they're talking about, and into more positive psychologies, people who focus on mental health and well-being. Do that so that you can get that support that helps you move out of body judgment. I think this is so important. We're moving into the summer season, and that means possibly shorts and dresses and short sleeves and exposing more of your body, which I find for the clients that I work with is very triggering. And we judge ourselves, body judgment all the time. And there is a way to move into body acceptance. I hope you start engaging a little bit more in a way to love your body, accept your body, and move off of that body judgment, because I tell you, it's more freeing in our lives. It's more freeing in our internal wellness, our well-being, but also it's more freeing with food, because we're not judging ourselves and eating from a sense of judgment and negativity. We're going into life more positive and feeling more free and open. I love talking about this. If you have any questions, I hope that you subscribe to our podcast and that leave us a note, leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing, what resonates with you, what are you going to do differently? I really would love to hear that. So please go in and leave us a review and tell us what you're thinking about and how you're going to move out of body judgment and into body acceptance. I am Kim McLaughlin. I am from Feed Your Soul Unlimited, and I love talking with you on our podcast about everything having to do with mental wellness, well-being, mental health, leaving body judgment, intuitive eating, and putting food in its proper place as nourishment. I look forward to talking with you next time, you guys. Bye-bye.